a WWE Hall of Famer, class of 2017, an Olympic gold medalist, a USA Wrestling ambassador, the American hero, Kurt Angle, joins us right now live in studio. Kurt, welcome to the Boomer and Geo studio here at the Fan.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. This is real exciting for me.
I see we dressed up accordingly
Black.
here. Yeah. What brings you to New York on this beautiful day here?
Well, you know, I have a few things that I'm doing right now. One in particular is raising money for USA Wrestling, the men's and women's Olympic freestyle wrestling teams, and the men's Greco-Roman Olympic wrestling team. One thing you probably don't know is that these other countries in the world, like Russia and China, and many other countries, their governments pay their Olympic athletes to train and compete full time. They don't have to get jobs. They don't have to make a living. All they have to do is train and compete. We don't have the luxury here in the United States. Mm-hmm. So our athletes, for the most part, have to get jobs, and they have to train on the side. So their job becomes first priority, and their training is second. And I want to end that because I want to raise money for USA Wrestling so these athletes have a chance to win medals.
And do so full-time and train and be at their
By
best.
training full-time and competing full-time, they'll be at their best. And that's when we dominate in the Olympics. And, you know, it's crazy because for the most part, these athletes actually do get jobs. And they don't have enough time in the day to be able to train full-time. Right. So I want everybody to go to kurtangle.org. That's kurtangle.org. You go to that link and you could donate whatever money you can for USA Wrestling, especially the women's wrestling. And the reason why I got so involved is because my 7-year-old daughter is a wrestler now. So she's taken after her father, and I'm really proud of her.
That's amazing. Yeah. You coaching her from the side?
You know what? I don't coach her because I don't want to have that dad-daughter relationship where she hates my guts. So I have my brother Eric. Her uncle Eric coaches her.
Okay, well, that's good. At least you could coach by proxy.
I could kiss her boo-boos and everything else and not have to worry, yeah.
You know, we're also here in the shadow of One World Trade Center, and I know you do a lot of work with Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Yeah. Are you planning to run the 5K next year?
You know what? I can't because I had knee replacements, and I'm not allowed to run anymore, unfortunately, because I used to love to run.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would do the 5K run every year if I could, but I can't.
Oh, man, that stinks. You can walk it.
You're right. I could walk. You try to get me there.
No,
huh?
I'm just. But seriously, like, how are you feeling overall?
I have my good days and bad days. I do a lot of body maintenance. The thing is, if I would have done that during my career, I would have had a much longer career, and I wouldn't be in the position I am right now, where my body's really banged up. Yeah. I've had 5 neck surgeries. I need 2 shoulder replacements. I had my back surgery, knee surgeries. So I'm hurting pretty badly, but every day I do maintenance training where I do like core training and traction for my neck, anti-gravity for my lower back. I do a lot of stretching and yoga. I don't do a lot of weight training anymore, and it has a lot to do with because of my shoulders. They're so screwed up that I'm going to have replacements. Wow. So I do what I can, but I try to maintain my body from a healthy standpoint.
Yeah. Do you have your gold medal with you?
No. I usually don't bring it with me. What happened is a couple different incidents where I had my gold medal. One time, this little kid, was holding it, and when I wasn't looking, he grabbed the ribbon and he was throwing it around. He let it go, and it hit the wall, and it put a big dent in my gold medal. And I was like, oh, God. Oh. So, and then my kids also was playing with it around the house, and they kept dropping it. And I have like 20 dents in my Olympic gold medal, so I put it in my safe.
Yeah.
It stays safe in there.
Yeah. Adds character to it, I guess.
Yeah. I got a little character because of the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would be wearing that like a necklace, I think. Like this, like a rookie here. I still have my ID on, but I'd be wearing it around my neck.
You know what? That's funny you say that, because when I joined the WWE, Vince McMahon was like, listen, I don't just want you to wear your gold medal. I want you to wear 25 of them. I want 25 medals around your neck. I want to go over the top with this. And what's crazy is Jerry Briscoe, who's Vince's right arm man, he told me that I need to wear them everywhere, like in the airports, and through security, and when I'm driving somewhere or when I'm home. He said you have to live your character all the time. So I did for like a couple of weeks. And then I was walking down the hallway at an arena that we were going to do Raw that night, and Vince saw me. Yeah. He's like, hey, what are you doing with your gold medals on? I said, Jerry told me that you want me to wear them all the time. He said, no, I don't want you to wear. You just wear them at TV. And I was like, oh, my God, he got me good.
Oh, man, that was a long time. That was
Yeah, good 2 weeks. I look like an idiot.
All right. So what is, I mean, for the whole Olympic career here, what is your journey like? I mean, I understand all the injuries and all that, but if you could, a word or a phrase to describe your Olympic journey, what would that be?
Grueling. Another word would be stressful. You know, I had a lot of things going on when I was wrestling in the Olympics. In particular, I broke my neck, and my neck wasn't healed by the time the Olympics came around. So I had to wrestle in the Olympics with my neck broken. And so for me, it wasn't just the stress of winning an Olympic gold medal. It was the stress of my injury and just knowing that I was going to go in there unsure of what was going to happen, whether I was going to be able to finish the matches or whatever. And what they did is a doctor came up with an incredible idea, and it was to shoot 12 different shots in my neck with shots of Novocaine, 5 minutes before each one of my matches. And he said, therefore, you won't feel the pain. You'll forget your neck is broken, and you'll wrestle more freely. But he said, I'm warning you, an hour after your matches are done, you're going to be in excruciating pain from your abuse your neck takes during those matches after the Novocaine wears off. And he was right. I mean, I was in a lot of pain, but it worked. And I was able to wrestle 5 matches in the Olympics, and eventually I won the gold medal, and I beat the Iranian in the finals. And it was the proudest moment of my life.
I know, and you had some adversity early on, too, the untimely passing of your coach and all that, in order to get to it.
6 months before the Olympics, I lost my coach, yes.
I mean, that has to be, I mean, we've seen here in New York, I mean, Zach Wilson's quarterback coach, he untimely passed away. He got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, I think, you know, deterred him a little bit. How did you have the mental resolve to be like, no, like, I'm sticking to this. I'm doing this?
Well, you know, Dave, I was with him for 4 years, and Dave taught me enough to know what I had to do from there on in. So I was okay with getting myself ready, you know, because Dave was always there every day, 24/7, always training me. So I actually knew what to do. You know, I at that point, thank God that Dave taught me enough to know that I could end up, you know, basically coaching myself at that particular time.
Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle joins the Danielle McCartan show on The Fan. And back to the 12 shots of Novocaine. Like, I get like 3 at the dentist, and I'm like, my face is like swollen. I can't stand it. But having them shot directly into your neck, right? And you go into the squared circle over there, and full well knowing that you can leave that gym either paralyzed or dead. I mean, at the time, what did winning a gold medal mean to you that, no exaggeration, you could risk your life to get it?
Well, that's the thing. You know, my doctor said, hey, why don't you just wait till the next Olympics? I would, but there's no guarantee I'm going to make it. Mm-hmm. There might be another wrestler there that has more talent than me 4 years from now, and I won't be able to make the team. You don't know. So it's almost a once-in-a-lifetime shot. Was it worth risking my life? Yes and no. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It meant everything to me. It was my dream since I was 7 years old, and to be able to have that moment and knowing that I was taking a chance of paralysis or death, it was worth it to me. So I'd say yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, the 2000 games seems like so far out of the question, but you continued your career still wrestling, but professionally.
Yes.
Do you look back and say, man, I should have tried for the 2000 games?
You know, I was so, I trained so hard, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. It got to be so overwhelming. And when I ended up winning the gold medal, I knew right away. All right, I'll give you an example. When I was wrestling the Iranian, at the end of the match, it was tie score. The judges had to pick the winner. And I had a last-minute shot where I took him down, and I almost scored on him. And I think that was the deciding factor. But, you know, I knew that, you know, all the stuff, the mental stress I went through, the physical anguish I went through, I didn't want to have to do that again. So I wanted to, I knew that the 1996 Olympics would be my last Olympics. And I was okay with that. I mean, there are a lot of wrestlers that continue on and they become like a legend. You know, Bruce Baumgartner won 4 Olympic medals, which is unheard of. You know, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted one, and I got it, and I was happy.
Final question on the Olympic era. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, as you can tell. But the Olympic era, when you open up the safe, you hold it in your hands, dents and all.
Yeah.
You look at that medal. In your mind's eye, maybe you close your eyes, what are you thinking about?
Oh gosh, you know, I'm thinking about my mother crying in the stands, my brothers crying, just jumping for joy, It was such a huge family celebration because it wasn't just me out there; it was my family,
Right.
and they did everything they could to help me,
Right.
and they would travel no matter where my competitions were. They would travel and they would find a way to get there. Everything I did, the world trials, the Olympic trials, the world championships, Olympic championships, everything. They always showed up, and my family was my team. And my mother was my manager. She managed everything that I did, including feeding me and doing my laundry and, packing clothes for me for each training session I was going to do during the day because I did 3 a days. She was there for me tooth and nail, and I can't thank them enough. I couldn't have done it without them.
Ushering in the WWE era now, I bought a prop for you.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it in red, but I have this
It's
here.
not small enough. It's too big.
I know. I was trying to find a small one.
The little tiny cowboy hat.
Yeah, it is a little big. Can you give me a little Jimmy Crack Corn?
Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. I got Olympic gold.
I can't. I mean, was that improvised or was that planned? Like,
It was partially planned, but most of it was improvisation. And what's crazy is when I started in WWE, I only learned how to memorize lines and then memorize them and then say them.
yeah.
I didn't know how to improvise. When we started doing those segments, I had to. And I was like, I need a script. They're like, we don't have a script. You're going to have to just improv. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And you know what? It took me a couple of days to get the hang of it, but eventually I was able to do it.
I was Stone Cold Steve Austin for Halloween in 6th grade. So it's an embarrassing moment there. Pictures are out there somewhere. My mom did find those. My brother was Mankind.
He was my favorite. Austin was my favorite. He's the reason why I got into WWE.
Yeah.
I wanted to be him.
Really?
I ended up being the opposite of him. I ended up being like the milk drinking nerd, and he was the beer drinking badass.
Yeah, it was. What was the appeal of him? I'm trying to think. What was the appeal of him?
You know what? He was a heel. And
Yeah.
he became the top babyface in the company.
Yeah.
And I think it's because everybody liked bad guys, Bad guys was cool at the time. Yeah.
I read that you turned down the WWE for the first time because you didn't like to lose. Now I could empathize with you on that, but what made you come around?
Okay. The reason why I didn't sign with them, it had a little bit to do with not losing. And that's the reason was I came from amateur wrestling. Amateur wrestling has always taken a back seat to pro wrestling. So people think if you're a wrestler, you're one of those wrestlers on TV. Right. They don't realize you're actually a real wrestler. And the amateur wrestling community got very frustrated with it. So they always tell me, listen, they're going to call you. Don't go to them. Stay with us. And I was like, oh, don't worry. I'm going to keep staying with you guys because I don't want to do the fake stuff. And then I started watching Raw in 1998. And I fell in love with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And these athletes, they were incredible athletes, these wrestlers. And not only that, but I was laughing my butt off. I mean, they were so entertaining. I was like, I could picture myself doing this. Yeah. And so I decided to take the leap, and I called the WWE in 1998. They offered me a contract in 96. It was a multi-million-dollar deal. I turned it down. But in 1998, I asked if that contract still stood, and they said, no, but you can come up and try out. Okay. So I went up and tried out, and after the first day, I picked up on everything so quickly, they offered me a contract. It wasn't a very good contract. It was actually very small. But that's where I started my career. It only took me about 7 months to get on TV, and by the time I got on TV, it only took 10 more months, and I beat The Rock for the world title, for my first world title. So I beat Rock in my rookie year, and I caught on very quickly. And I was one of the very few guys that was able to do it relatively quickly within a year.
That's amazing, yeah. Except for memorizing the lines part.
Yeah. I have a photographic memory, so I can read something 3 times over and remember every word.
That's great.
And they had a joke, like in the back, they would like have the scripts and watch me and go, oh my God, he's doing it word for word.
Wow.
And it was just unreal. They were actually mesmerized I was able to do that.
Someone comes up to you on the street, like, yo, you're Kurt Angle. Wrestling's fake. What do you tell them?
Punch him in the nose. No. I if anybody's going to tell me that wrestling's fake, the one thing I tell them is, you're right, it's predetermined, but the bumps that we take, we're bumping on plywood. That doesn't tickle. That hurts. And it brings long-term injuries. Also, the ring bounces, so your knees become shock absorbers. Yeah. And then your knees go. So your neck goes, your back goes, your knees go. And that's why a lot of wrestlers are debilitated and why a lot of them were using painkillers in the past. I mean, it's a really rugged sport, and I think it's the toughest sport. It's not a sport, it's sports entertainment, but it's the toughest form of sport I've ever been involved in. I've had more injuries in pro wrestling than I ever did in amateur wrestling.
Yeah. Kurt freaking Angle joins us on the fan. You were so lovable, like during your gold medal rise. Started off your WWE career as a babyface, as a face. Whose idea was it to turn you, the American hero, heel?
Vince McMahon. He said, listen, I'm going to turn you into the anti-hero. You're going to be the biggest heel in the business. And I said, Vince, it's not going to happen. I said, these fans, they know I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I'm an American hero. There is no way you're going to make me a heel. He said, yes, I am. And the way I'm going to do it is you're going to preach the 3 I's: intensity, integrity, and intelligence, but you're going to do the opposite. Okay, so the people are going to think you're a hypocrite. And that's what makes people sick, when you tell them one thing and you're preaching it and you do the other. So I'm preaching how to be fair and, and play by the rules, and then I break the rules and I cheat and win. And it worked extremely well because Vince was absolutely right. I became the biggest heel in the business. And I kept that title for a couple years. And then eventually I turned back to the babyface. It was because the fans appreciated my work.
Which did you like better? Which role?
Oh, the heel thing.
Yeah?
I love pissing the fans off. It was so much fun because it was so easy to get them angry. Just being me, which was crazy. I thought I'd be likable, but fans literally hated my guts.
Yeah. You broke your neck a couple times more at WWE. And we talk about it like
4 more times.
4 more times. But forgive me for asking, but why did you keep going back?
I was drawn to it. In wrestling and pro wrestling, you become the top guy. You don't want to lose your spot. So when you're out with injury, somebody's taking your spot. And you become a little bit insecure about it. I mean, everybody does in the business. And I was a bit like, I want to get back. I want to get back. I want to get back. I was telling my doctor, you gotta release me. You gotta let me go back. And eventually I talked him into doing it, but it was probably too early. And every time I went back, I broke my neck again. And I just didn't take a 6-month period off, took my time, let it heal, and then came back and was able to be 100% healthy. I never let myself do that, and that's my fault.
And then the UFC came calling, or you
yes,
called the
UFC came calling. Actually, when I left the WWE, Dana White got a hold of me. He wanted me to fight for UFC. And he wanted me to take a physical, and I took the physical. And, he offered me a great deal. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of money. But I didn't pass the physical. And because of my broken neck and everything like that, it just wasn't going to happen. So I wasn't able to pass the physical, so there was no way possible I could fight in the UFC.
You ever think about what a UFC career for Kurt Angle might have looked like?
You know what? If UFC would have came on strong in 1998 and 99 when I joined the WWE, I would have chose that.
Really?
But when they started like getting really big was around 2000 when I was already world champion. So I was already far into my career. And it was like, do I quit now and go back, to UFC, or do I keep doing what I'm doing? And then the next year I broke my neck again. It was like, you know what? You're in the right place because there's no way you're going to be able to compete with those animals with your neck that bad, in bad shape. So I decided to stay back in the WWE.
Drawn to it because of the physicality of it, the non-scripted part of it?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, in UFC, you can't work around your injuries. In WWE, if you have an injury, you tell your opponent, I can't do this, I can't do that. We need to be careful. Let's work around it. So I knew that having the broken neck and the bad neck, I could still work around it and still be Kurt Angle.
Right. And UFC, they would be keying in on it.
They would have broke my neck 10 times over.
Yeah. Kurt Angle with us on WFAN, New York City. It was around probably this time that the opioids took it,
When I broke my neck the second time, the first time in the WWE, I met up with a doctor and he introduced me to painkillers. And I'm not going to lie to you, the first pill I took, it gave me a euphoric feel, and it definitely helped with the pain. And I was like, I like these, So I started taking them, but after a while, your body builds a tolerance, and one doesn't work anymore. Then you have to take 2, then 2 led to 4, 4 led to 8. Before I knew it, I was taking 65 extra strength Glycogen a day. I was really deeply addicted. And not only that, but I was getting injured quite a bit, which didn't help with the painkiller problem. And I remember at one point in time, I was getting ready for the biggest match of my career. And it was going to be a 1-hour Ironman match against Brock Lesnar. And I was at a house show, an untelevised show the night before, and I just got done wrestling. My brother Eric called me. He said, listen, your sister Leanne just died of a heroin overdose. And man, that devastated me. I remember I went back to my hotel room. I grabbed about 30 pills. I threw them in my mouth and chewed them up and swallowed them. I didn't want to feel any pain, and I passed out. I didn't wake up till 4:30 in the afternoon the next day. The WWE was trying to get a hold of me all day long to tell me I didn't have to show up for TV. I could go home and plan the funeral for my sister. And I looked up at the ceiling and I said, Leanne, what do you want me to do? And all I could hear is do it for me. Do it for me. So I went and wrestled, and I had the greatest match of my career. I don't know what it is, but I've always been able to overcome adversity at the craziest times. You know, like my broken neck in the Olympics and my Olympic coach getting shot and killed. And this is another incident. And from there, I just knew that I needed to get out of the WWE. I knew I had a really serious problem. So I asked for a release in 2006, and Vince McMahon granted that release. And I took a few months off, and I ended up signing with a smaller company because I wanted to work a lot less.
Yeah.
The schedule WWE had for me was ridiculous. And so I wanted to make the same money and work less. And TNA Wrestling gave me that opportunity. But I got the painkiller problem under control.
Yeah.
But as an addict always does, I switched that to alcohol. And I started drinking alcohol heavily in TNA. And that got me 4 DUIs in 5 years. My life spun out of control. I lost my reputation. Everything I worked for, I was at the lowest point in my life. And I remember calling my wife from jail after my 4th DUI, and she said, I can't do this anymore. You either go to rehab or I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. So I went to rehab, and the rest is history. I haven't taken a drug since.
Back to the sister thing, like you're parallel with her journey is your journey.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel, I don't know, like you ever grapple with yourself? I know you offered her the ultimatum, but you were struggling with the same thing too at the same time. Do you ever feel, I don't know, I don't want to use the word guilty, but how do you grapple with that?
Yeah, you know why? Because I was doing the same thing, and I was telling her to quit.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm not going to talk to you till you get clean.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to speak to you anymore. And I was funding her habit. I thought I was paying for her bills, and I was paying for her drug habit. So I was mad at her, even though I was doing it. And that's what hurts the most looking back now. I mean, I was such a hypocrite, and I didn't have a chance to talk to my sister before she passed away because I had too much pride in the fact that I didn't want her to know I had a drug problem, but I was criticizing her for hers. So I said, listen, I'm not going to talk to you till you get clean. And unfortunately, she never got clean, and she passed away. So I regret that decision.
If you had the chance to talk to her, what would you tell her?
I tell her, listen, Leanne, I'm in this with you. We both need to go to rehab together. I would have loved to went to rehab with my sister, knowing that she was going to be with me and I was going to be with her. I think we could have done it as a team. And I think that we both be clean and alive today.
What were you like to be around when you were using?
I did it privately. I very few times was I ever in public that I was drugged. It was mainly at my hotel room or at home. I was very good at hiding it. And so a lot of people didn't see me like that. And that's one thing is that when I did it, I like to do it alone. Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, we were talking how much we loved him. He said in your documentary, he said the words he used was, I was scared for him.
Yeah.
So a guy you looked up to, a lot of us looked up to, did he try to help you? Did he try to say, hey, like, dude, this isn't, did he know about it?
You know what? At that point in time, Steve actually left the company. So I think that Steve would have been the one that would have spoken up. Because he did have a problem with him before. Not a big problem. He had a little bit of a problem just for a few months, but he kicked it really quickly. But Steve was one of those leaders that would have spoken up and said, listen, you got to get your stuff straight. And unfortunately, he was gone by that time. And I was hiding it pretty well. The only ones that actually knew were ones that were doing it with me, and it was a couple of my team members that were in my faction I had at that time. Yeah. And unfortunately, those guys didn't keep their job very long, and they got fired, and I was left alone, and I was still taking.
Yeah, that was another question I had. It seems, and I'm watching that Vince documentary. I'm not all the way through it yet, but kind of take me into that locker room. Like, I mean, were there others that were doing it? Was it a known thing?
You know what? Before I got there, guys were doing it in the locker rooms. Yeah, they were, taking stuff and handing it to each other. Yeah. But when I got there, they had the drug. They had a drug program, and nobody talked about it. Everybody kept it hush. If they were taking it, or if your friends were taking it and you knew about it, there was hush between those two. And if you need a couple painkillers from someone, you went on the side and said, "Listen, I need a couple painkillers." Wow. So it wasn't like announced in the locker room.
Right.
It was more of a hidden pleasure, if you want to call it that. Wow. But so nobody really talked about it, and I think if they would have, I think that things would have been different. I think that there'd be a lot more lives that were saved, that were lost. That these athletes that died way too soon. Yeah. There's always been an issue. Today, there's nothing wrong. These guys they're monitored all the time. They don't have a heavy load schedule anymore. The way the WWE takes care of the guys today is incredible, and they just make sure that these guys don't falter, and they don't. I mean, I haven't heard anybody with a drug problem in the last 10, 15 years.
You mentioned Stone Cold had left the company. Was there another guy that you kind of wished would have stepped up and been like, "Hey, this is not all right, guys"?
Yeah, I think guys that I looked up to the most, like Undertaker and Triple H and The Rock, I was hiding from them. I didn't want them to know my shame. I didn't want them to know that I was struggling. So I wish I would have went to them and said, "Listen, I have a problem, and I can't help myself. I need somebody to help me." I never did that, and I do regret that.
The pill schedule, I saw it on the documentary that you had. Was that the actual notebook that you showed?
Yeah.
Different doctors, different days of the week. I mean, different cities.
Different pharmacies.
Different pharmacies. How did you keep it all? I know there was the book, but how did you keep it all straight?
When you're an addict, it's easy.
Really?
You make that your first priority. I mean, that schedule, every day, I followed that schedule. I made sure that I called the right doctor, got it to the right pharmacy, so two different pharmacies wouldn't get, different script or two scripts. A pharmacy would get two scripts. They'd get one from one certain doctor, and then another pharmacy would get it from another doctor, and so on. So I kept that schedule very tight, and then I was buying them illegally, 500 pills a month illegally from Mexico. So my habit turned into a disaster. I mean, I was probably spending $7,000 to $8,000 a month on drugs, and the thing is, I had the money, And for me, it was relatively easy to say, you know what, I can give up $8,000 a month. It won't be a problem, and that's what's unfortunate about it. I wish I didn't have any money at that time.
Yeah. Does Kurt Angle just at the peak of his career, just walk into a pharmacy and say, "Hey, I'm here to pick up my prescription"?
Well, yeah, I tried to, obviously they knew it was a script for me, but I always tried to go in the pharmacy with a hat on and my head down and, go straight to the pharmacy and, grab my drug and head out. So nobody ever said, "Hey, you need to slow down," because they knew that I had injuries and I was only getting one prescription from them. Right. So they thought I was on my normal routine and I wasn't doing anything else. But meanwhile, I had 11 other pharmacies I was going to. Wow. So I never let them know about each other.
Wow. The Vince McMahon thing, the delineation for you between Vince, the boss, and Mr. McMahon, what is it?
There's not much of a difference. Yeah, Vince is Vince, and he's always showed his true colors all the time. I actually took a quick liking to Vince. Liked him. He became somewhat of a father figure for me. The thing is, what blows my mind is I would spend so much time with him, but I never saw him do any of the things that he's accused of. And I spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on his private jet with him, and I was in the meetings with him at the production meetings, and we were working together all day long, and then we would stay at the same hotel. And so I spent a super amount of time with Vince, and I never saw him do anything like that. So for me, I was just as surprised as any other fan.
Yeah. So there was nothing now today, in the lens of today, looking back, that you were like, I don't know about that.
Well, he was on his phone quite a bit.
Okay.
And I know that he sent a lot of text messages and stuff. So I understand that. No, I understand why I missed that. But I know that a lot of the communication with the people was by text. So he was always on his phone. So I didn't know what it was for.
Right.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle with us on The Fan. In the documentary, you said these painkillers had a lot of pain, not just physical, but emotional. All that you had to overcome, your injuries, the unfortunate passing of so many close to you. At the time, how was your mental health addressed in your rehabilitation?
You know what? That was great, because the first thing they teach you in rehab is to forgive yourself. And I had so much guilt on my back when I went in there, and so much pain from the deaths of my sister and my Olympic coach and my father. It was really difficult. And what I was more worried about when I got there, after I forgave myself, the thing I was really worried about was messing up. I was like, you know what? I don't want to leave here, because I know I'm going to mess up when I get out. When you are taking drugs, you become a failure. And when you're in rehab, you're worried about, when I get out, will I continue to be a failure? And I literally thought I would. So I was telling my wife, listen, I want to stay in here for a few more months. She's like, you can't. You got to take care of your kids. We got to move on with our lives. I was like, yeah, but I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. She said, well, are you ever going to know until you try? I was like, you're right about that, but I just feel like right now I'm not in a good place, and I was just so unsure of what was going to happen when I got out. And I knew how easily it was for me to get those drugs. It was like, am I going to be a mess up, or am I going to get my life together? And thank the good Lord, I chose the second one, and I got my life together, and I've been clean and sober for almost 14 years.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
How instrumental was Giovanna in your
sorry?
recovery? How instrumental was
God,
Giovanna?
yeah. Well, you know what? She was very supportive, but what woke me up was, hey, listen, if you don't get clean, I'm leaving. And I was like, I love this woman more than anything on earth, more than the drug. I'm not going to lose her. So, that was a lot of my motivation, was her, because I'm so in love with my wife. She's the greatest human being on the planet, and I love her to death.
Woman?
She makes a lot of decisions for me, and they're always right. I always say she's wrong, and then I find out later, hey, you were right.
You tell her that?
Yeah. I just told her today. I was arguing with her about something I posted.
Oh.
And she was right. I talked to Lauren, and Lauren's like, no, your wife's right.
Then this is the woman you took to Applebee's on the first date.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
and that's where I proposed to her.
Oh, my God. Was it after 10 p.m.?
No, it wasn't. It was early.
USA Wrestling Ambassador Kurt Angle joins us on The Fan. Now, how are you making up for lost time with your family?
Oh, you know what? That's all I do now is daddy duty. I take my kids to their sports, piano lessons, tutor. I take them to CCD. I'm always with them. Once they get home from school, I'm with them till they go to bed. And I absolutely love it. My wife and I, that's all we do is spend time with our kids. And mostly it's busy time. These kids go to all these events, and we're making sure that we raise them properly and that we give them every opportunity they can to make a success out of their lives. And it's just, it really makes you worry, though, because you're like, you're setting them up for success, but if they fail, then you're going to blame yourself. And but the way we've been going so far, and our kids have been fighting uphill battles. My daughter, Sophia, has a speech delay. I don't understand the sentences she puts together. She's 12 years old. I mean, she should be talking normally by now. So, my daughter, Juliana, has Tourette syndrome. So, there are a lot of things going on with my kids, and I have a son that has autism. So, we're there quite a bit for them, and they're fighting uphill battles, and we're supporting them as much as we can to make sure they're okay for the rest of their lives.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nicoletta, she going to make her own Olympic run one day?
Yeah.
wrestling run.
She's hilarious. This girl loves life. She loves to experience life. Me, I'm like, if I die tomorrow, I'll be okay. She just like, I don't want to ever die because I love life. Like she brightens your day every time you see her. And she makes life worth living. Yeah.
As a female athlete, and now I know you have her coming up the ranks here, a question that is kind of in the news. I mean, what measures would you put in place to kind of protect women's sports? Is it a genetic test? What would it be? Because this is a topic that it's close to me too.
You know what? I don't know enough about it. I will tell you this. I do believe that women should do women's sports and men should do men's sports. Maybe we could start a division where, transgenders compete against each other. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Because right now we have the Special Olympics, and that's for underprivileged kids. And, if I'm for everybody doing sport, right. Obviously. Right. I just think you need to do your own category, and I could be wrong, but, hearing some of the evidence, it's like, is it fair or is it unfair? That's a tough thing to, it's a tough thing to weed through. And I really don't know because I don't have enough information for it.
Kurt Angle joins us on The Fan. If there was one thing, in conclusion, kind of sort of here, wrapping it up, what would you change about your career?
Oh, gosh. You know what? I honestly, the drugs. I would have cashed those in for a much more successful career. I'm considered one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. Sure. I don't see myself in that category because I did not put in enough years to be that. Mm. But if I didn't take the drugs, I think I would be considered the greatest of all time. Because I would have spent 20 plus years in the WWE. Right. I only spent 7 years, and that's not enough time. But the years I had at that generation, I was the best in that generation. I could say that. But looking back, can I consider myself the greatest of all time? No, because I don't think I put in enough years. Yeah.
Why do people still love you, even though they loved to hate you back then?
Okay, this is the craziest thing. I have so many fans come up to me and say, "Oh my God, Kurt Angle, I used to watch you as a kid and I hated your guts. Yeah. But now I appreciate you because I know now that you were trying to be a heel and you wanted us to be pissed off at you." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, I loved you, man, but I actually hated you." So yeah. It's like you get that love-hate thing, and it makes you feel good because you know you did the job you were supposed to. And eventually I ended up turning good guy anyway. So, yeah. I got both flavors of it, and I love both of them. Yeah.
Would you ever love wrestling enough, WWE, to go back as, I don't know, maybe a manager or a guest referee I saw?
Yeah. I guest refereed. I did a couple promos. I was, I think I got to do a reenactment of my milk truck incident where I drove into the arena and sprayed down Stone Cold Steve Austin with milk. I got to do it again with Chad Gable and Otis. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. But I had such a great career, and very grateful for all the memories and moments that I was able to make. Mm-hmm. And the WWE fans are the greatest fans in the world. I still go to appearances 2 or 3 dates a month. They show up every time. And then they bring their kids, and their kids become my fans. Like, I get the new generation following me because they watch old tapes of me. And it's like, our fans are the greatest fans in the world. Mm-hmm. They're so loyal, and they never miss any of my events. They show up. I get 1,000 people every time I sign autographs. It's ridiculous. Amazing. I'm so grateful for them.
Tell them about the big-time movie you got coming out soon.
Yeah, I got the movie going on. Really proud of this. It's a really great story. It's about a kid from the streets of Pittsburgh that overcomes all these obstacles, including a broken neck, to win the Olympic gold medal. It's only about my Olympic career. It's not about my pro wrestling career. And the directors are Ian and Esham Nelms, and they did some really good movies like Fat Man starring Mel Gibson, and Red Right Hand starring Orlando Bloom. They've all done other incredible films. And they want this movie to be like a Rocky type of feel, with a little bit of the fighter and Iron Claw mixed in. But I'm really excited about it. I know that this movie. I'm gonna be working behind the scenes for the first time. I won't be in front of the camera, but I'm really excited for the world to see it. And we want to release it in theaters, and this is gonna be a lot of fun for me. It's probably the most excited I've been since the Olympics.
Cool. Yeah. I will be on the lookout for it. But who plays you?
We
can't
are
tell.
all right. Right now, we just got the script done. We're shopping for investors,
Okay.
which shouldn't be a problem. After that, we go and pick the cast. So this is going to happen probably in the next 3 months.
Okay.
And we have a few. I can't say any names right now.
Okay.
But we have a few good names that we're thinking about.
Okay. Yeah. Younger guys, older guys, bald guys.
Younger. Well, they're going to have to be in the 25 to 30 age range.
Okay.
That's where most of the movie's going to show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait. No hints, none,
No,
not one.
no, I can't. No.
All right. Well,
I will tell you this, a good hint, and I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Okay.
But you're going to be really surprised when you see who plays my father. That's all I'm going to say. That's not much of a hint.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's like Stone Cold or something. I don't know.
It might be.
Hey, heard it here first.
He's got to grow some hair, though.
They have stuff for that now, I think. All right. Well, Kurt, I got to tell you this. I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting in front of you.
This is why I did it. People like you. That's what it was all about. That's the whole reason why I got into it. I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the entertainment, to show people that I could be entertaining. Yeah. And it's just so great to have fans like you. It really is.